Can y'all hear me? Good, I don't have to switch into tour guide mode and project my voice. It's so great to see so many friends, old friends, new friends. I was very welcomed when I was here in the summer, and I made sure that for this trip, which sadly goes on for another 2 months, this was the very first stop. It was just on Monday that I landed in the Islamic Republic of New York. And you don't realize how true those comments are. We'll get to it. There's a lot of things going on. Can I have the first slide, please? Pretty please? I don't know. What would you like me to stand here? I could do that. Okay, this keeps falling. Let's keep it there. So today's presentation is a little different. You can go back on YouTube, and our sister congregation friends in beautiful downtown Brandon, Florida, have recorded my presentations over the years. Actually, I've been there, I think, starting in 2017. So particularly the last 4 ones going into a lot of detail about the war and what's going on. We're going to do that a little bit, but we're going to go to the overarching issue of, is this actually the end of days? Or is it just another chapter? And you'd be amazed at how many people have reached out to me, not saying, how are you guys doing in Israel? Hey, I heard your son-in-law is being called up again. He's a combat medic in a frontline unit. Hey, what's it like for 26 months as a tour guide to have absolutely no income? No. But they want to know, do I think that this prophet said this and this is going to happen? And that makes us Jews simply prophetic pawns in your personal eschatology. That don't play with me. So do you know what? Let's just jump into it and let's see where we go. Although when I told people that this was going to be the topic, they said, well, wait a second. How are you going to describe the Jewish understanding of end of days and how it all happens, and the ones that Christians, Messianic Hebrew roots people have? Watch me. Next slide, please. Okay. Wow, I wish that was bigger, but this is fine. This is our playing field. So where do things stand right now? Because people say, well, you know, the war's over. Or there's a ceasefire. Or, I love this word, there's a pause. Let's go to the videotape. Let's pause our action on the field. Okay. Right now, we have a definite maybe with Hezbollah in Lebanon. They have been rearming, and despite the American brokered ceasefire, which mandated that the Lebanese army, which is the second most powerful army in Lebanon, behind Hezbollah, was actually going to disarm Hezbollah. There's the devil in the details, right? Hamas is rearming. There is constant Israeli efforts in Yosh, Yehuda v'Shamron, Judea and Samaria, what the European Union still foolishly calls the West Bank. American government has gotten better at that, by the way. Let's not talk too much about the American government. Okay, so the big dangers are Iran, which astoundingly, now didn't we read that America and Israel had obliterated, that was the word, obliterated the Iranian nuclear program and all their ballistic missiles? I was very influenced growing up by TV. So at a moment like this, I think of I Love Lucy.
Lucy, you have some splaining to do.
Yeah. All of a sudden, sources say there are 42 kilograms of enriched uranium, that they're creating new ballistic missiles on a daily basis. As we said in ancient Aramaic, no bueno. Not good at all. But more than a year ago, I began warning of a danger equal to Iran, and people thought I was nuts. Which, by the way, is not an unusual reaction to me, so I wasn't surprised. Turkey. People say, well, Turkey's in NATO. Turkey's an American ally. True, true, true. But they also provide safe haven for the Hamas leadership. They also support terrorism worldwide. And by the way, the issue of the sale of American F-35s is back on the table for Turkey. Another danger, Egypt. Now, some of you know that our very first peace agreement from the Camp David Accords was Egypt. But according to that agreement, Egypt is to have no troops in the Sinai Peninsula between Egypt and Israel. So why are there 5 heavily armed divisions in Sinai? Who are they pointing towards if not us? Crazy. But you missed some really good news the other day. Did you see that Israel recognized Somaliland? And probably, we're the only country in the world that has recognized Somaliland. Not yet. Nope. Only Israel. Only Israel. Now, people are saying, huh? That's not the same place as Somalia. And they've actually been independent, and they have a functioning economy, an education, like a real country. So it's not marked on this map, but I'm going to show you. You see where Yemen is? Where it narrows? Okay. That's Somaliland. Because people say to me, what's up with Israel recognizing Somaliland? ¿Por qué? Why? Check it out, boys and girls. Right next to Yemen. Right on the Horn of Africa. Amazing stuff. So right now we have a lot of definite maybes on the playing field. And let's go to the next slide. Sure. Okay. Please understand, when I speak about President Trump, I am speaking strictly as an Israeli. Okay? I don't live in America. I have no skin in the game. Number one. Number two, it's not like you all had a choice. Okay? Like him or not, you had no choice. Although, had Harris been elected, God forbid, why don't just think, someone else would have to be bilking the state of Minnesota because he would have been vice president, God forbid. So really, people say God works in strange ways. Absolutely. So President Trump has stepped in, and he, by force of his personality and threats, which actually has been underscored in the last week. Poor people in Greenland are already packing up. Because something's wrong in the state of Denmark. Question is, we're supposed to be moving into phase 2 with Hamas. But not only have they not returned the remains of our last hostage, and by the way, no one in the world is holding them accountable for having taken hostages, for having taken babies, for having raped women. No. It's like all cool. Remember, resistance is justified when people are occupied. Wait a second. Some of you may say, well, wait a second. Gaza's been totally free for 21 years. Don't confuse the issue with facts. So we don't know what's going on. Now remember, last February, that was the first time that President Trump implied that Gaza was going to be redone. This was going to be Atlantic City on steroids and the Riviera. You know, when you saw that video with the with the big statues, it was really freaky. And it's kind of like, we're going to move out the population, rebuild. Like, why do they get a total upgrade? How is it that you can start a war and benefit from it? Very strange. By the way, I just realized, there is a clock up there. I was told that I had 2.5 hours to present. I think that was our conversation. But what I'm going to try to do, honestly, is try to leave time for questions and possibly some answers. But we're going to move on. Next slide, please. So what's happening in the world? Wow. There are so many times I've come back to quoting song lyrics because it's very hard for me to keep up with Pastor Curtis. Very hard. But the old ball of confusion, it's astounding. But understand something. Jews are being murdered. Manchester, England, Bondi Beach, Australia, Boulder, Colorado. Doesn't seem to bother anyone. And this, I hate to say, is just the beginning. America's open border for years, I would like to think that everyone that crossed into the Republic of Texas was merely a Central or South American in search of a better life for their family. I'd like to believe that. It's not true. It's not true. And people are heavily armed in America, and not just the good guys. Not just the good guys. It's open season on Jews worldwide. Although I had friends in Israel express their concern about me going to America in the summer, this time people said, you've really lost it. You know, because here it was, and we can even go back to last January. Last January, my first stop was going to be North Carolina. So I flew into Atlanta, and I'm going to baggage claim, and of course I'm wearing my hat, which has the patch of the temple, which says in Hebrew, Bimheira v'yameinu, speedily in our days. And I encountered 2 high school classes of Muslim kids. This is Atlanta. The girls were all wearing hijabs. The boys all had keffiyehs. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So the world is crazy right now. Europe doesn't know what to do. And by the way, is there anyone actually talking about Russia's invasion of Ukraine anymore? Not a word. Not a word. Qatar has a lot of money. And if you don't believe me, you can ask Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and everyone else. Megyn Kelly. I used to watch her. It was 2 years ago. It's unbelievable. And there is a split within the American conservative/Republican Party. I watched some of those videos. Thank you, YouTube. And I have to tell you, I was really disconcerted and disappointed by Vice President J.D. Vance, who basically said, and I'll paraphrase it, we need a big tent approach for conservatives. And, it's unbelievable. Let me give you an analogy. Picture what it would be like in America. Okay. I've never been called a leftist before. Wow. Yeah, things are really strange. Thursday night, there was a demonstration in New York City. And one of the chants being used was, say it loud, say it clear, we support Hamas here. They were standing in front of the Yeshiva of Central Queens, the school that my daughters graduated from 8th grade in that school. This is New York. Understand something. In New South Wales, not in all of Australia, but in New South Wales, it is illegal to say globalize the Intifada. In England, the term globalize the Intifada is considered hate speech. In New York City, the mayor believes it. And by the way, I'm not a statistician. Try this in English. Statistician? Something like that. You know, one who lives with statistics. There's always a workaround. And by the way, it is amazing how you actually do forget English. And even though when I work in English, and all my social interactions are in English, I'm both forgetting Hebrew and English simultaneously. Soon to be semi-literate in both languages simultaneously. Not great. But this is unbelievable. So with statistics, people say to me, you know, I become the Jewish answer man for people. Why is it that the Jews, sounds like the book of John where 70 times they say the Jews. That's another lecture. The Jews elected Mamdani. Not true. First of all, 30% of Jews in New York voted for Mamdani. 30%. What percentage of New York's population is Jewish? 10%. That's all. So it's young people, it's minorities, it's really unbelievable. But again, I want you to picture what this is like from a Jewish perspective. Picture a black church anywhere in America demonstrating in front, wearing those big white hoods and burning a cross. But with Jews, you can get away with it. Because most Jews in America are wimps. I hate to use this expression, but I love it. Back in the day, we took to the streets. We broke windows, shattered many of them, did a lot of things, got arrested. You guys know this, don't you? So by the time I was 20, I'd been arrested on 3 different continents. I never got to Australia, not yet, but that, it's on my list. And now, you have to send to go to Israel. What did we do? We sent spies into the land. You guys are going to check it out for us. Beit Lechem, Australia. I'll buy my ticket. Next slide, please. I'm trying to think. Don't confuse me with facts. Seriously, it's like recently, you may have heard, recently there was Christmas. It was Christmas. So I'm trying to figure out how we Jews killed Palestinian Jesus while we were busy sitting in Poland somewhere. Because we weren't in the land. You don't need facts. It's merely the narrative. Give me the TikTok explanation of what I need to be saying. I'll carry the sign. I got to tell you, I barely worked in 26 months. I wanted to come to America and be a paid protester. And you'll notice the way each of these so-called causes blends into the other one. I remember the pictures from California when they started these anti-immigration or anti-ICE riots. And the horrific images of people standing on overpasses, throwing big boulders down. I noticed that the first day they had Mexican flags. By day 2, they had Mexican and the so-called Palestinian flag. And by the way, why isn't there a single encampment on an American college celebrating the liberation of the people of Venezuela. ¿Por qué no? Really? They show the Venezuelans, and they're ecstatic. They show demonstrations in America, and people say, hands off Venezuela. I mean, it's like, I'd like to sing It's the End of the World as We Know It, but I'm not so sure I feel fine about it. Really, I'm trying to think, what's going to happen now? Every day, and I've said this for the last year and a half, every day I get up and I open my phone for the news, and I'm stunned by what has happened the day before. Enough with Plato. Next slide, please. Redemption. Wow. The Geula Shlema, the final redemption. Everyone's, and I have to tell you, most of the people who describe to me that they're waiting for the final redemption, it's like they want to check out. They don't want to worry about Social Security running out of money. They don't want to worry about, prices. They don't want to worry that there's no Costco nearby, only a Sam's Club. They don't want to worry about that. They don't want to worry about which gas station is 3 cents a gallon cheaper. They want, they really, they want to, and it's in a lot of the songs that you sing when I go to congregations. People are waiting for that bursting out of the sky moment, and everything's going to be fine. We have a very different understanding of the process of redemption. There's a phrase in Yeshayahu, Isaiah, Bita achishena, in its time I will hurry it. People say, wait a second, how can we believe that there is a set time for the final redemption? But if we merit it, it will come sooner, without misery, without suffering, grandeur, etc. Frankly, I think we missed the boat. And that's why we are in a period of time where we seem to go from one tragedy, one problem after the other. That's why congregations split. That's why there are power struggles. That's why people won't fully commit to a congregation. They'll attend, they'll be part of it, but they don't view it as a covenantal responsibility. They view it as something like, this is working for me today. I'm cool. Let's keep going. Next slide, please. So what do we expect the final redemption to look like? It's interesting. Within the Talmud, there are a couple of sages who have speculated on what the days are like before the final redemption comes. And they all say, I don't want to be around to see it. I don't want to be part of it. It is going to be crazy. And this is kind of what we're experiencing right now. There are also amazing miracles that are happening simultaneously right now that I'm going to share with you that you may have missed. The problem is, a lot of people seem to like eschatology. They seem, and they want to know, and again, they view us Jews as prophetic pawns. Somebody asked me once, do you think you'll be part of the 144,000 that are left? I appreciated that as much as the woman who said to me about 10 years ago, Hanoch, you're a riot. You are so funny. I'm going to miss you when I'm in heaven. And it's moments like that when I realize that's why my government won't give me a gun permit. It's kind of strange. People have said to me recently, this is great. Have you ever read the book of Daniel? It's almost like, do you remember Counterpoint on the old Saturday Night Live, Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin? I won't repeat it. But it's kind of like, Hanoch, you ignorant Jew, have you ever read the book of Daniel? Because only we Christians and Messianics have read it. Yes, I have. I said, the parts in Hebrew or in Aramaic? And they're like, what? I said, no, go ahead. What do you want to know? So, well, do you think it's like the lying on the left side for so many years, and I'm like, just say no to drugs. If that's what's going to be your focus, no, your focus should be on action. And I'm going to reiterate it in a few minutes. But the single greatest thing that you can do for Israel and the Jewish people is build a stronger Beit Lechem. How can you not see that? It's unity. It's power. I got to tell you, the woke leftists, they're organized, they're funded. They had demonstrations on October the 8th, 2023. Signs already made. It took Israel 3 weeks to get organized and actually go into Gaza. And they're already calling for a ceasefire. And I know from my days in street demonstrations in New York, it takes a while to get a police permit. You can't just show up. Next slide, please. He's not there. So Geulah, redemption, or Gog and Magog? Everyone wants to, is this war Gog and Magog? People have said to me, why are you planning tours to Israel? This war is just going to go on forever. No, it's not. The war presents challenges. Israel is astoundingly safe. It's shocking. And when people say to me, well, I don't know about, going, should I go to Israel now? I don't know. I know you and Mike Clayton have the Connect to Israel experience, but I don't. Really? And when was the last time you heard of a tourist getting hurt in Israel? Have you looked at crime statistics in Chicago? Come on now. Gog and Magog, the final battle. Everyone's like, let's just skip to the end. It's like binge watching a show saying, you know what, let's just get to the last one. Then we can go to sleep. No, it doesn't work that way. And I'm so glad that Pastor Curtis was talking about being on fire. I have been put in a role that I never chose. I hate traveling. I do. I am convinced. Okay, now I have to make a reference that shows my age. Some of you may not be aware, but there was a very significant cartoon years ago called Dudley Do-Right and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The villain was Snidely Whiplash. We're not going to talk about him. But the Mounties are lined up. The commandant comes out and says, I'm looking for a volunteer for a very dangerous mission to take a step forward. Do-Right is not paying attention. I can so relate. He's dreaming. He's dreaming, when Ephraim and Judah come together. But everyone else is paying attention and they take a step backward. De facto, Do-Right is the one left stepping forward. That's me. I didn't respond to the divine email saying thanks but no thanks. I always thought someone doing what I do, first of all, would be much nicer. As I was told in Alabama years ago, you're not everyone's cup of sweet tea, So I said, well, bless your heart. Mrs. Young didn't raise that stupid a boy. We need to be on fire. We can create a revolution that changes the world. I come into Beit Lechem, the first thing I notice is multi-generational. I have spoken to groups where I am among the youngest person in the room. That's really not good. That's really not good. And I know from friends over the years how difficult, people say, my kids have walked away from all of this. That happens in the Jewish community too. But you need to have a structure. You need to be feeding your family of all generations. You need to show that there's something there other than, well, I don't belong to that church. I occasionally get to speak in mainstream denominational churches. And one time I made the mistake of asking the pastor, so according to Google, there are 40,000 denominations of Christianity. But yours is the one that's right, correct? And the thing, do you know what's so funny about that? Where in the Tanakh, in the Hebrew Bible, where does our Father in heaven tell us one time what religion to belong to? He's asking for a relationship. How you choose to express it, that's your business. Next slide, please. Hashem. Let's talk about God and what God has done. By the way, like most traditional Jews, I use the term Hashem, meaning the name. Please understand, however you choose to pronounce the divine name is your business. No offense, I could care less. Really, and it bothers me. People say, I remember the first time I spoke in Salem, Oregon, America's West Bank. And someone said, you keep saying God. Why do you say God? And she was like, I said, well, because I'm speaking in English, in America, to Americans. I thought it would go over better than speaking in Hebrew. She said, well, don't you know that God spelled backwards is dog? One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small. Okay. Absolutely. So let's talk about the hand of God. And I don't mean literally, because I actually have people who wrote to me when we were being bombarded with ballistic missiles from Iran, asking me why literally the hand of God doesn't swat them away. We do not live at the time of the Exodus. We do not see open miracles, the plagues, etc. We don't see the sea splitting. We live in an era where we need to be in a collaborative relationship with our Father in heaven. So we know of the horrors that this war has brought upon us. But most people miss the incredible miracles. 1 year ago, almost to the month, after being bombarded by Hezbollah, killing numerous Israelis, including 12 Druze children in our northern communities, we finally struck back at Hezbollah. And people missed the miracles. First of all, that we knew that there were about 110,000 missiles, all pointed towards the north. And by the way, the ultimate miracle was that the game plan was that Hamas was going to attack, Hezbollah was going to attack, and there would be a mass attack of terrorists in Yosh, Judea and Samaria. Hodu Lashem Kitov, God is good that didn't happen. So 15 years ago, Israel, our own Mossad, and Army intelligence said, we need to be prepared to take out Hezbollah. Hezbollah was using walkie-talkies. So we created a company that sold walkie-talkies at a competitive price. They all had a little bit of C4 explosive in them. But guess what happened not that long ago? They switched from walkie-talkies to pagers. So we went into the pager business. Okay. So one day, we all open up our news, and we see these videos of pagers blowing up. It's like, greetings from Hanoch. Open this page. Boom! Didn't kill that many, but seriously wounded over 3,000 Hamas terrorists. Hezbollah. It's hard to keep your terrorists apart. We live in a bad neighborhood. The next day, they started having the funerals. So this was I'm trying to remember it. It was a Monday. So Tuesday and Wednesday were the funerals. Okay, so they had switched to their walkie-talkies by then. Boom. Amazing photographs. But by Thursday, Nasrallah, who was in charge of all of Hezbollah, called an in-person meeting of all his remaining uninjured commanders. Somehow we had the intelligence information on the ground in Beirut. A couple of F-15s went up, did what they do best, and killed them. Astounding. About a month later, Assad, the dictator of Syria, falls, runs away to Russia. We saw a window of opportunity and destroyed every single military aircraft in Syria and took out their air defenses. Okay? Which became vitally important just a few months after that when we had to fly to Iran. Understand what happened in Iran. We had people on the ground in Iran building drones. We knew the whereabouts of every nuclear scientist and general. And at one time, and the name of the operation was called the Red Wedding. For those of you who've ever seen Game of Thrones, you know what that was about. How cool was that? Amazing. Amazing. The hand of Hashem, but we don't recognize it as such because it's done in collaboration. Really, do you think it's a coincidence that people are stopping by Beit Lechem because they have seen the flags, they have seen the support, the open support of Israel, which, by the way, in America is dangerous. It's dangerous. Next slide, please. We have a concept of Geulah, of redemption, that it's literally darkest before the dawn. And you know the way those little rays of light? This is where we are right now. And this is the time of sorting out. This is Amos, with a sifter in his hand. This is it. This is the movie I quote the most. And you have to understand, you have to remember, I've told many of you this previously. I grew up in an Irish Catholic neighborhood. I didn't have friends. Everyone hated me because I was the local Christ killer. The girls wouldn't go out with me, which is why I'm still a little socially backward. But at this point, with this stage in life, it's kind of cute. It's like, oh, it's so cute. My daughters remind me, don't joke with the waitress. Understand something. I'm older than her grandfather. It's fine. When they ask, in Hebrew, would you like to pay? So only if I have to. They're like, huh? We was so clever in the Bronx, man. This is unbelievable. This is the time. And you see congregations splitting. I know several congregations in the Messianic Hebrew Roots world that have split in the last 2 years over support of Israel. This is like back to classic replacement theology. This is where, is you is or is you ain't my constituency. This is where it is. And every time I see a congregation do things like to teach membership or, to be within, and this is a covenantal relationship. Is you is or is you ain't. You gotta be. You have to choose a side. This is it. Next slide, please. In our tefillot for Medinat Yisrael, for the state of Israel, we describe the state of Israel as the first flowering of our redemption. Okay, now you could tell that the wording of that was a real compromise, but Do you not see that the rebirth of the modern state of Israel is an absolute flippin' miracle? And never before in the history of the world has a people been exiled, come back, speaking the same language. Even as a kid without much of a Jewish education, the very first time I was able to see the Dead Sea Scrolls and be able to read, that was astounding. The Jewish population of the state of Israel in 1948, when we declared our independence, was 600,000. The British had done a very effective job of blocking Jewish immigrants from coming into Israel. May they forever be cursed for that. We have a Jewish population now in Israel approaching 8 million. Largest Jewish population in the entire world, by far. This is, and you know what? This is, y'all can be part of it. That's the best thing. That's the best thing. And you know, the people I speak to generally believe themselves to be part of Israel. And they often ask, by the way, so when is your government going to... Don't expect anything from my government. Please. Please. We're talking about Hashem. We're talking about God. When God promised that, you know, the two sticks, you know, and, you know, the stick of Judah and those attached to him, the stick of Ephraim, Joseph, and those attached to him. Our job, someone said, show me in Scripture where it says that. I said, it's called common sense. Our job is to bring those sticks closer together and build a relationship. By the way, I know I don't look like it, but I used to work in the health club industry. Now I look more like the before than the after, but I'm working on it. We used to train our front desk staff to greet people by name. Hey, Curtis, how are you? Oh, I see you had a birthday. Why? To build a relationship, to build a connection. Because people will readily quit a health club. They won't as readily walk away from a relationship. Common sense. Next slide, please. This is where it gets somber. We in Israel will struggle. We will suffer. We will bleed. But we will survive. I'm more concerned for the United States of America. There seems to be a recognition in this congregation of what's going on. It really does. Most Americans are unaware that America is fighting for its very soul right now. You would think it's not just the Democrats. That's the sad part. It's not just the Democrats. Because, listen, Turning Point USA has Tucker Carlson speaking. I mean, this is, to me, it's scary. You would think that one of the greatest problems facing America today is Islamophobia. You mention anti-Semitism, and people say, oh, Islamophobia. Really? Show me one demonstration in front of a mosque anywhere in America. Show me one report of a woman being attacked for wearing a hijab or a burqa. One, just one. Even in the Republic of Texas, which has the highest rate of new mosques being built in America, America seems to be blissfully unaware of what's going on. Americans are unaware of what Islam is. It's not you say tomato, I say tomato. This is a country, and most people will say, America was built on Judeo-Christian ethics. No, this is a Christian country. We knew that. Listen, they used to trot us up on stage in assembly for Christmas to sing. And no one ever said, wait a second, we don't want to make this Jewish guy sing this, remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day. It wasn't, grandma got run over by a reindeer. This was real Christmas stuff. The Christ hadn't been taken out of Christmas yet in America when I was a kid in the 70s. God, that sounds so long ago. Okay, it is, and I'll tell you why it is. 55 years between 1915, the middle of World War I, and 1970. 55 years between 1970 and now. But you can make the difference in America. You're here. And what astounds me, by the way, is how this side of the Rockies is so different than the other side. I mean, come on now. Next slide, please. Okay. Foundational scripture. We all know this, but this is serious. And this is where y'all are being sorted out right now. All of America, and listen, Europe is gone. We grew up in school studying about Christian Europe. Ain't no such thing. And understand something, there's no country in Europe that has a Muslim population even approaching 30%. This change happens with a much smaller group. And truly, Hashem will bless those that bless his people. And you know what? His people is all of Israel. However you want to define it. However strange it may appear that I'm your brother. I have to tell you, people have challenged me. What do you mean you don't eat grits? I didn't realize the restoration of all of Israel was contingent upon it. I don't even like oatmeal. Okra. What can I tell you? It's a strange country. Next slide, please. So next steps, what do we do? Number one, each and every person here could make a stronger Beit Lechem. Each and every person here can help. Now people, right away, when I say help or participate, people right away think of dollars. Well, I'm on a fixed income. You know, I'm living off social insecurity. You know, no, I'm not talking about just money. The tables can be cleaned. You can help out with something. You can straighten the stacks of flyers. It all is the impression as people walk in the door, this is your home. This is your home, and I have to say, this is your future. This is your future. You have to take pride in it. And you know, when people tell me, I don't know the money. I don't have the money to go to Israel. And there was a pastor a few years ago who said to me, he said, Hanoch, can I share something with you? Sure. You're the pastor. People have money for what they want to have money for. And that was shocking. So like when people, and we'll talk about it, but here, political activism. I am really thrilled that Pastor Wendy and the team here are very tied in with the local politicians. Fabulous. But y'all also need to be writing to your representatives in Congress and in the Senate and the White House. All of those emails are tallied. Organizing a stronger, larger Beit Lechem, an even more vibrant Beit Lechem can make a huge difference. And you'll eventually see people begin relocating to here because of what y'all are doing. This is an education. Famous John Wayne quote, you can't stop stupid. That's an understatement. People say the dumbest things in the world. I don't hate Jews, I just hate Zionists. We have no right to live in our country. We have no right to live. And do you know what's great? I love the term unaliving. You're not killing anyone anymore. They're just unalived. It really makes me wish that I had experimented with drugs. Because then I could say, I'm not relating because of like all those bad LSD trips, really. So, by the way, this is something I mention quite often when I travel around. There are people said to me, Hanoch, you could still get high. Now? No, I don't think so. Not happening. I'm at the age where, when you wake up in the morning, if you can get both feet off the side of the bed and in those little slippers. Why am I talking about slippers? I'll tell you why. It's cold in Israel. And you can say, Hanoch, this is Colorado. No, I'll tell you why. Our windows are designed to keep the heat out because our summer is 6 months long. We have no insulation. Can you believe that? Really, startup nation, we have no insulation. Number 3, we have no central heating. Number 4, our floors are stone tiles. You can learn to hop very quickly from your bed to the bathroom. Next slide, please. Okay. There's stuff that each and every one of us can. I'm not at a stage anymore where I can get into multiple street fights and at least survive. So I'm not breaking up demonstrations in New York. I'm not even going to New York. That's done. But I'm with a group of people that is changing the reality of the world today by fully prostrating on the Temple Mount, where we Jews have not been allowed, none of y'all either, by the way, for 1,955 years. We are changing the reality. And this isn't just like, oh, the Temple Institute has made a new menorah. No, we are changing facts. This past year, more than 76,000 Jews have ascended the Temple Mount to pray. By the way, if you don't go up with a Jewish group, let's say 5 of y'all are in Israel. I love saying y'all, so cute. My daughter, by the way, my eldest daughter in Israel, she said to me, she said, Abba. And by the way, I don't know, do your kids ever do that with mom? Why do they repeat? That's like to me, like, hello? Anybody, are you listening? Abba, you grew up in the Bronx and you're an Israeli. We don't say y'all. I said, sure enough we do. I have to tell you, things are progressing so rapidly on the Temple Mount that this Hanukkah, for the first time since the year 70, someone managed to light Hanukkah candles. Our police didn't beat them down, so that's really good. And someone went up with tefillin. Wow. This is unbelievable. So someone approached me in early December before I left and said, as a tour guide, you, I'm sure, have noticed that people who are not Jewish go up, but they're under the authority of the Islamic Waqf, the Muslim Religious Council. So they walk around. They're not allowed to pray. If they're wearing something that the Muslims deem inappropriate, they make you wear like a potato sack. Okay? It's real, and they kind of walk around. So this is a guy who specializes in creating 3D stuff. He said, what if we had a sign at the entrance to the Temple Mount where people could scan a QR code and they'd put on headphones for an audio tour that would explain what the El-Aqsa Mosque is, what the Dome of the Rock is, what the significance is. And I'm like getting really excited as he's saying that. And I'm like, like I'm slobbering my pasta. Well, yeah. And he said, what if the person narrating it was you? I'm sorry. Really, I'm overstepping my bounds. So whether it'll be me or not, but the idea that these projects are ongoing. We're going to be talking more about Israel and going to Israel because you all have to come to Israel. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's, the back of my sweatshirt is the picture of the temple and Bimheira V'Yameinu, speedily in our days. I have to tell you, those stones get really cold this time of year. And I think of the Kohanim, our priests, 2,000 years ago who walked barefoot. Now, we just wear non-leather shoes, thanks to Columbia and all the, all that stuff. Next slide, please. Okay. This is a special picture that I took. So on the left, you've got my dear friend and brother, Mike Clayton. Next to him is one of his sons, Daniel. And next to Daniel is one of his sons, Reuben. 3 generations. Okay, so Mike posts it on Facebook By the way, because if it's not on Facebook, it never happened. I mean, we know that. We know that. I'm trying to keep up with Instagram, but you say, well, old people like you use Facebook. Oh, bless your heart. Where's my 9mm when I need it? So Mike posts this, and Mike is thrilled. The fact that 3 generations of Claytons can come up and do something that the Torah and the prophets of Israel command us to do. And someone writes, yeah, big deal. I think Mike is going to have me visit him when I'm in North Carolina. We'll have a conversation. Haven't done that in a long time. I really need to hit someone. Not you guys. I love you guys. And do you know what the best part of saying something like that and looking out? People laughing, they think I'm kidding. That's the best part. That's the best part. Next slide, please. Okay, Connect to Israel experience. Mike and I created a tour back in 2014. We have another one coming up October 18th through 30th. Trust me, I'm a tour guide. I have been guiding since 2012. There is no other tour like this one. It is designed to connect you. You will come and connect with people. Our most recent tour, we had a home-cooked meal in Itamar, the entire tour. Itamar is geographically the largest Jewish community in Shomron and Samaria. By the way, I don't know if you have caught this line in Tanakh, in the Hebrew Bible, where it says, O ye drunkards of Ephraim. Oh, you have seen it. Excellent. We go to 3 wineries in Shomron in the first 2 days. And by the way, the greatest thing about drinking wine in Israel, not just that it's great, it's really good. You're actually not drinking wine. You're drinking the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. That's the thing that's amazing. There's a congregation that I'm going to be speaking at in Ohio that told me that they have 20 people ready to sign up with us. That's a bit of a problem, only because we only take about 26. I think I can push Mike to 30, because we keep our tours. This isn't one of those, okay, I don't want to mention names of people in the state here. People who bring 5 buses to Israel. And, yeah, we also charge half that amount. But anyway, and you have me as your guide. From the time you get off the plane to the time that you have to go to Ben Gurion Airport to leave. It is unique. It's only $32.50 because we're doing this without a tour operator. Mike is doing it through his ministry, and he's not taking a profit on it. I told him that was a mistake. People don't always listen to me. What can I say? But it is an amazing thing. And I have to tell you, for some of you, and listen, not everyone is healthy enough to go. Sadly. I was doing a walking tour for a group called Tourist Israel a few years ago, and a woman she was in her 8th decade, from New Jersey, Jewish woman, and she had just had double knee replacement. She said, I always wanted to go to Israel. And I explained to her gently at the beginning of the tour, this is 18,000 steps. It's not a forced march. This isn't U.S. Army Rangers, but we do. And I have to tell you, for years I've been telling people before the tour, start a walking program. Problem. Most Americans' idea of a walking program is parking in the back part of the Walmart parking lot and then walking in. So now I have to send them a hiking program. I want you to seriously think of, and I have to tell you, from year to year, our lives change. Sometimes, hopefully, with Hashem's help, for the better. Not always. Don't wait too long. And as a congregation, if you yourself can't come, maybe you can help scholarship some of the younger people to experience it. Next slide, please. Okay. A number of years ago, back in 2018, how long have I been speaking? About an hour? I got to hurry up. Okay. You know, Beit Tehillah, they used to hold up signs telling me how much time I had. Then I just realized I could start ignoring them. Okay. This is one of my role models. You know, so back in 2018, Mike convinced me at a congregation in Jasper, Georgia, by the way, who no longer invites me, because people from the congregation went back to the pastor and said, you know, the guy's a Jew. Why do we have him speak here? What could he possibly share with us? So they no longer invite me. But back in 2018, Mike convinced me to do an entire presentation just of my personal testimony. Testimony, not a thing in my world, but very big in yours. So people loved it. I was mortified afterwards when I heard it. Like, you know, revealing things about, you know, our family. And I grew up poor. By the way, people have interrupted me when I've said that. They said, you can't be poor, you're Jewish. We was po. Okay, one of my role models, Avram Stern, Yair Stern, led the Lehi, the Stern Group, one of the underground movements to free the land of Israel from the British. Even small in numbers though we be, can faithfully fulfill this one specific role that is our historic mission. We can all make a difference. Who am I to go up to the Temple Mount and prostrate? Who am I? Who in my family lineage? Each of us can make that difference. Next slide, please. Okay, so this was an illustration from the Temple Institute a few weeks ago with Yosef. It said, you know, I am seeking my brothers. And of course, Pastor Wendy commented on my Facebook post. I think it was the first time you've ever commented on a Facebook post. I was so thrilled. Said, and remember your sisters too. So that's where Yosef was wrong. He should have said, I'm looking for my brothers and sisters. That's what my world is all about. And somehow, although I'm incredibly opinionated about everything, I can be totally non-judgmental with people that I consider brothers and sisters. You know, people say, well, how do you feel about, and then they're very unnerved with how many times I've studied the Gospels. There's like, I said, well, you know, in Matthew 15:24, when Yeshua said that he has come but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, I was like, yeah, you Jews study that? I said, well, this Jew does, so what do you want? Next slide, please. Okay, here's someone else you've probably never heard of. Dov Gruner was a fighter for the Etzel, the Irgun, the other underground movement, the one that was led by Menachem Begin. He was captured by the British, severely wounded. They waited until he recovered, and then he was one of 12 of our martyrs that were hung. And this quote haunts me. Of course I want to live. Who does not? But what pains me now is that the end is so near, is mainly the awareness that I have not succeeded in achieving enough. I don't think of myself as a character from the movie Wayne's World, but I truly am not worthy. And I feel the clock is, if I had a watch, it would be ticking loudly. We're running out of time. We're running out of time to make a difference in someone else's life. The Salt and Pepper Club is a great idea. Maybe y'all can't be the ones out mowing the grass. By the way, do you know I've never mowed a lawn in my life? People can't believe that. People can't believe that. Mike Clayton can't believe that. Joe Good can't believe that. I grew up in the Bronx. Come on. We had a fire escape. We didn't have a lawn. Next slide, please. What people really want is this quote. They want me to gather you all together and tell you exactly what's going to happen at the end of days. Instead, I'm going to tell you that we have the opportunity to contribute. When I came for the first time in the summer, I was asked to speak to the younger people. The fact that you had enough young people on a weeknight to speak to, amazing. And I found a group of intelligent, engaging young men and women. Astounding. And I felt better, honestly, because I saw a glimpse of what the future can be. Next slide, please. Okay. We all have our dreams. People talk about maps. That's my map. But you know what? Things don't happen overnight by themselves. There would be no change on the Temple Mount if people wouldn't go up regularly, pushing the edge of the envelope. I have a very good relationship with our police up there. I'm so not like I am generally. I'm actually soft-spoken. I'm polite. We can change the world. We have that opportunity. Next slide, please. My mother, of blessed memory, always used to use this expression: God helps those who help themselves. Mom never had a Torah education. She had a very hard life. But she always used to use it, and it's true. And it's true. If we in Israel were not creating, we now have something called the Iron Beam. First time in the world, a laser to take out drones and incoming missiles. You wonder what we could contribute to the world, what we could develop for the world if we didn't have such crazy defense expenditures. Our value-added tax just went to 18%. Again, we go back to Aramaic. No bueno. 18%. I go to buy, something, it's 18% more. And we'll talk about another day. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's me. Anyone have any, do we have time for questions? Okay, great.
I'll run the mic for Hanoch. As a reminder, keep it to questions.
Yes, no statements.
Yes, thank you.
No theses.
Yeah, okay, questions.
When am I coming back? I love to hear that. In the summertime when the weather is, yeah. I'm sorry? Be careful what you wish for. It might come true.
I will start it, and I know others will follow. But a quick question. When we write to our representatives, what are some of the bullet point items we should be including in that? Because our congressman for CD3 is very pro-Israel. He's visited this congregation, as I told you. But
okay, it could be as simple as thanking them for the support of Israel. We in Israel are right now fighting the battle for the entire free world. And, I have to tell you, the way it's being spun, I heard the other day, well, the reason we don't have national health care in America is because we give all those billions to Israel. Understand something. We, in Israel, through the aid, subsidize the American arms industry because that money is only allowed to buy American weapons, number one. Number two, one of my graduate degrees, I have two, was in health policy with a specialization in healthcare finance from New York University. And I can tell you, ain't no way America's ever going to national health care. We were fooled with the Clinton administration 30 years ago. Ain't happening. Anyway, it could be as simple as that. Or if you'd like, I'd be happy from time to time to send you bullet points. It would be my pleasure. Absolutely. Next question, please. Come on, I won't bite off your head, I promise. Oh, well, you have a question here. I'm sorry. Hi, Andrea.
Hi. What are our biggest prayer points for you and for Israel right now or in this next season going forward? What would you say?
Okay. For Israel, that when we have elections in November, we'll have a government with backbone. That's the most important. And I have to tell you, the single most unacceptable thing that I say as I travel around to groups, and again, the groups I speak to are all tremendous lovers of Israel. The thing that pisses people off the most is when I criticize Benjamin Netanyahu, our prime minister. And then I lay out, all the things, including the fact that he personally okayed huge amounts of funds from Qatar to Hamas with the idea that we would keep Hamas quiet. Like a chicken in every pot and then 2 cars in every... As late as the summer before 2023. He needs to step down. In 1973, the surprise of the Yom Kippur War, almost exactly 50 years apart. Golda Meir was reelected prime minister. During the Agranat Commission of Inquiry, she was acquitted of any responsibility. But as a leader, she said, I was the one in charge, and stepped down. Okay, prayer points. Wow. For me personally, health and strength, and not listening to that voice inside me saying, forget about it. And here, again, I set aside, I don't go home till the 9th of March. But I'm missing 10 engagements that had been set up. I mean, my airfare on El Al was $4,300 this time, round trip. Now, okay. It's a premium seat. That's not business. That's just a bigger seat. With this stage in life and scoliosis and everything else, I can't sit in, like this for 10 and a half hours. I'd like to. Meet some very nice people. But no. Every time I do this trip, this is like 27 since August 2013, I really say, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then I meet people like here at Beit Lechem. And I say, how can I not? How can I? It's really interesting that on a personality level, Pastor Wendy and I really, we match up. It's this, reticence to speak out, and no, I'm teasing. That we in Israel will do what needs to be done. There are many in Israel, including my teacher of blessed memory, Rav Meir Kahana, that repeatedly taught that in 1967, had we immediately declared sovereignty over all of Judea and Samaria and the Temple Mount, that the redemptive era, the Messiah, would have come, and we'd all be like looking back on it now saying, amazing. We didn't. And now we've put ourselves in a position where the American government is essentially telling us what to do and when. And I have to tell you, Trump, regarding Israel, he's a good guy. And actually, even Joe Biden was a supporter of Israel. But Biden believed that he knew better. As Obama, by the way, this is a great quote. After his second term, Obama described himself as the most Jewish president that America has ever had. And that's the kind of... His experience with Jews were ultra-liberal Jews in Chicago. So his concern for the masses, and we know what the masses are, it's an expression, I'm not going to repeat it, I'm on good behavior. As I learned the other day, pray around and find out. So yeah, this is, we live in a world that's distorted. Okay, Pastor Curtis, you had a question, and here's the microphone.
I was just wondering if, when you go to churches, do you have a certain objective? Like, do you have a certain goal or objective here?
Yes.
Have you reached
I
it?
have one objective all around, to better connect people to Israel and the Jewish people, and to try to build a bridge with them. And each and every group is a little different. Once when I was telling a little bit of my personal story, I was in a Baptist church in Millbrook, Alabama. And it's interesting, I remember the pastor, Jared Decker, and he saw that I noticed that he had a 9mm Glock in his waistband. And he said, oh, you're probably not used to clergy packing. No, yeah, our rabbis have M4s. But yeah, no, you're cool. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I mentioned how growing up, I had never been drunk. Again, remember, I had no friends. You don't typically do this stuff on your own, like, I'm going to get high by myself. I'd never been drunk. I've never gotten high. I never even smoked a cigarette. Pastor Decker is in the front row, and he looks at me and goes, I'm in with the Baptists. I never knew that. We didn't have Baptists in the Bronx. I didn't know. What's a Baptist? And then I'm still trying to figure out, you've got First Baptist here. On that corner, you've got Second Baptist. Who's on first? So I'm trying to connect with people. That's really, and trying to support them. And I always say, what can I do to help your ministry? And people are like, when I'm back on the Temple Mount, I most certainly do. I have people say, will you go to the Western Wall and put in a prayer for me? I said, the Western Outer Retaining Wall, the white picket fence around the house. I'm going to go to the place of the house, and I'm going to say the prayer for you. And the fact that I can do that is amazing. Well, okay. Thank you. I don't know. Are we still live streaming? No, that's okay. That's because certain congregations, like me a little bit, not a lot, but they're very possessive. And it's like that. So who are you taking to the senior prom, Hanoch? Us or them? Yeah. Okay, another question or two? Because I'm hungry. I don't know about you.
Or with Pastor Jerry, and then I think we got time for one more after that.
So you started out talking about how America's on the precipice, and various people have said Europe has already fallen.
Correct.
And we've got Mondanieville on the left coast.
Yeah.
Besides voting, we all do our part in voting and praying. Do you have any other suggestions
Sure.
for what we can do here
Absolutely.
to not follow in the footsteps?
First of all, there are things that Beit Lechem already does, that you're involved with your local community. Because if you noticed, one thing that the jihadi supporters did, they went to every school board meeting across America passing some resolution about something called Palestine. The fact that most people, if we went today to Sam's Club, sorry, I don't shop on Shabbat, but if you want to take me tomorrow morning, that'd be fine. And asked people, they don't know. People are obsessed. I've said before, people said to me, Hanoch, I'd like to follow the news in Israel. I can't read the Jerusalem Post every day. But they do take me in their car and drive for 15 or 20 minutes as they survey gas prices in their area, saving 3 cents a gallon. I think that's penny wise and dollar foolish. And again, I want to stress to you guys, I want you to, is there another slide after that, or is that the last one? That's it? Okay. Be nice if I could remember these things. I hope some of you will come on the Connect Israel experience. We don't even call it a tour anymore. It's the Connect Israel experience. It really will connect you to the land of Israel. And I have to tell you, there are a lot of tours that I don't guide. I can't, because I observe Shabbat. You'd be amazed at how many groups within the Hebrew roots Messianic world will travel and shop on Shabbat. It is what it is. Anyway, we have time for one more question. So be involved, educate, and I'm your resource. I'm there for you anytime. What are we, 9 hours apart? Nothing? I have to tell you, to be a speaker before lunch is a really tough thing. I want you all to feel bad for me. Don't smirk. I see you. I see you. Yeah, I know who you're related to. I know what I'm dealing with. Everyone here is related. Well, you should be, because we're a family. We are a family. And you know what? I say friends more often than family because of something my dad taught me. That in this world you get to pick your friends. You don't choose your family. So the fact that you guys are friends and family, this is like the friends and family plan. This is the best. Toda Rabah, thank you from the bottom of my heart. May Hashem bless you. May He strengthen you. May you go on to all things. And may we set this world on fire. Thank you.